Hi, I'm Jeff from New York. Please like and subscribe.
Young Billionaire, Season 2, Episode 31, Kill That Boy for Me.
Dave, are you all right?
Dave rubbed his head and straightened his back. Seeing the blood on his hand, he grew angry. He had grown up leading a pampered life when he had bullied others. He had never been beaten.
Get this guy. Beat him until his mother can't recognize him anymore. Get that woman for me. I want to see how you're going to protect her now.
He pointed at Royben in anger, and the lackeys accepted his order.
How dare you hit Dave?
One of them shouted.
If you're looking to die, why didn't you say so earlier?
Said another.
I'll beat you to death.
Said yet another. A few people yelled as they rushed toward Royben. Kevin and Rich each picked up a chair. Although Royben was terrified, he was even more afraid that his sister Joyce would be bullied. Royben stood in front of her to protect her. He decided that even if he was going to be beaten to death, he would not let them hurt his sister. Slap! A few of his lackeys charged forward and slapped Royben across the face. He was bloody, but stood his ground. He protected Joyce with a determined look on his face.
Let's go over.
Kevin shouted. The lackeys near Joyce dodged away, and Kevin let out a loud cry as he smashed a chair over Royben's head. The chair broke into pieces. Royben was dazed, and then he felt severe pain, as if a stake had been driven through his skull, but he still stood his ground to protect Joyce.
Royben!
Joyce was frightened as she watched the chair break apart over her brother. She covered her ears, closed her eyes, and shielded her body with her arms. When she opened her eyes, Royben was still standing in front of her, but blood was flowing out from a gash on his head. Joyce was scared and angry, but deeply touched that her brother protected her. She held Royben and cried helplessly.
Brother, are you okay? Are you okay?
So your brother and sister, beat them both up.
Dave said angrily.
There's another one over there. Get her too.
After Dave finished yelling, a few people rushed toward Violet. John protected his sister with as much courage as Royben had shown protecting Joyce, and placed her behind him to keep her safe. John decided that he wasn't going to let this guy make him look bad. If he was going to be beaten to death that day, they would all die, together with no regrets. Royben and John bitterly endured the lackeys' relentless fighting style, but as they were outnumbered, they probably could only last another 5 minutes. Joyce and Violet weren't injured, but they were crying loudly. Joyce wanted to help her brother, but he prevented her from moving. Violet, shielded by John, grabbed his shirt in fear. The people inside the restaurant could not bear to watch them fight, but felt it was out of their control, or worse, they would get pulled into it. They didn't dare to get involved. So many of the guests quickly rushed out the door. Seeing that Royben and John were being beaten, Dave started to feel better. Those two losers had offended him, so this beating was the punishment that he wanted to see.
Hey, what are you doing? Stop.
Jeff cried out. Jeff rushed out of the bathroom. He was shocked and angry when he saw what was happening to Royben and John. He had left the table to call Kyle Sanchez to ask him to move Ariel Jimenez and her daughter to a safe place. He had only vaguely heard the sounds of a dispute outside, but he had not expected it to involve Royben's group. He saw 6 people surrounding Royben and John. Without a word, he rushed to help them.
Ah!
Damn!
With a couple of sharp kicks, Alex knocked away 2 of the guys. He picked up 2 wine bottles from the table and smashed them over the head of 2 other men with all his strength. Smash! Smash! One of the bottles shattered. The other bottle remained intact, but its bottom was stained red and dripped with blood. The 2 people who were hit by the bottles fell to the ground. One man held his head and swayed from side to side. The other man fell and stayed motionless with a wound on his forehead bleeding profusely.
Dave, help me!
Kevin shook his head at Dave before his eyes closed. When the other thugs saw how ruthless Jeff was killing a man in one stroke, they were all shocked. They took a step away from him and watched carefully.
How are you doing?
Jeff looked at Royben and John. They both had blood on their heads, and their arms and legs were full of cuts and scrapes. Jeff's heart ached as he looked at them. Joyce and Violet's hearts moved when they saw Jeff save them. Looking at his serious expression without a trace of fear, they felt that this man had a lot of courage. Fortunately, Royben said, he was unable to open his eyes as he sat helplessly on the ground with John.
Are you all right?
Joyce's attention shifted to her brother. She hugged Reuben and cried. Violet also squatted beside John to take care of him. "I'm okay, as long as you're okay," said Reuben as he smiled. Jeff thought of calling for an ambulance, but he paused.
What's going on? Dave, what's wrong?
Just when the fight had calmed down, another person walked into the restaurant. It was Jasper Cruz. Slayer followed closely behind him. He was still wearing his strange clothes and a white mask when he saw Jeff in the room. His gaze stopped on him for a few seconds.
You're hurt. Who hit you?
Jasper walked up to Dave and asked with concern. Seeing Dave look in Jeff's direction and toward the rest of his group, Jasper looked at Jeff and revealed a cold smile.
It's you again. Damn it. I think you're really trying to get killed.
He exclaimed.
Jasper, this Brad is ruthless. Don't act blindly without thinking first. I've already told a few of my guys to come over and kill this arrogant guy.
Dave said as he looked at Jeff warily. He had only stopped by the Yellow Garden by chance.
Dave, how could these people dare to offend you as your friend? How can I stand it? I'll deal with these 3 bastards for you right now and give them something to remember.
Jasper looks like he could not wait to get revenge for Dave, which would help build their relationship. He turned to Dave and said,
Besides, he might not know this, but this guy's hit me before. This time, whether it's for you or for me, I'm not standing by to watch him act so arrogantly in front of you.
All right, you should know that his skills aren't bad. Not only that, but he can also be pretty ruthless. He's already killed one of my guys, so I'm afraid you might not be able to beat him up.
Dave was rather fond of Jasper and felt quite close to him.
Dave, you worried too much, so what if I can't personally beat him? For people like us, we don't have to dirty our own hands to deal with this kind of trash. Here,
he said with disdain. He then looked over at Slayer.
Just let him deal with him.
Over the last few days, Slayer had almost recovered from his injuries. Jasper had wondered how he could have been so badly injured by Jeff at the Angel Bar the last time. Slayer had said that he'd had an absent-minded moment that had given Jeff an opening. Jeff was not his match at all. Jasper also felt that it was by chance that Jeff had beaten Slayer.
Him.
Dave looked at Slayer in confusion.
This little guy is so short and thin. How could he beat up that brat?
Dave thought.
Jasper, you saw it. One guy has already died. He's much stronger than you. And this strange little guy. Don't let him get killed. We'd better wait for Dave's helpers.
Steve said, voicing his opinion. Both Steve and Jasper worked to flatter Dave's rich ego. Naturally, Steve didn't want Jasper to do well in front of Dave and gain his favor, especially since Steve and Jasper didn't like each other to begin with.
Oh, Steve, don't worry so much,
Jasper said as he looked at him with disdain.
You.
Steve angrily rushed toward Jasper.
Oh!
When he got to Jasper, before he could say anything, Slayer swiftly flung Steve over his shoulder and slammed him down onto the floor. Steve cried out in pain while Slayer calmly took his place beside Jasper.
Not bad. At least I know how to beat up bad guys for you,
Slayer said. Jasper gently stroked his head as if he were petting a dog.
Good. See, my man's really strong. Go after those 3 and don't hold back. Kill them. I'll take responsibility,
Jasper said while he pointed viciously at Jeff.
All right, I'll do what you say.
Jasper felt that if he could kill Jeff and his friends this time, not only would he avenge himself, but he would also earn Dave's goodwill. Jasper put his hand on Slayer's shoulder and pointed at Jeff.
Slayer, go kill that brat for me. When you're done, I'll give you another $500 each month so you can buy more clothes and look handsome. Now hurry up and do it.
Jasper handed Slayer a knife and pushed him away. Slayer stared at Jeff nervously, but he did not make a move. Jeff just stood in front of Reuben and his friends, silently looking at the little masked man.
Slayer, what's wrong with you? Hurry up and kill him. Cut off his head now,
Jasper shouted. Slayer remained motionless with the knife in his hand. Although no one could see his face, his eyes were wildly jumping from side to side.
What's going on? Why isn't he listening to you?
Dave asked Jasper with a frown. Jasper smiled awkwardly, walked behind the little masked man, and slapped him on the back of the head. He shouted,
Trash, don't you understand what I'm saying to you? Go and kill him now.